My name is Harper Linwood, and I'm 29 years old. This Christmas was supposed to be easy. Same house I grew up in, same mismatched ornaments on the tree, same smell of turkey and cinnamon that sinks into your clothes and follows you home. My mom obsessing over whether there are enough sides for everyone's preferences, my dad pretending he's only interested in the game but hovering in the kitchen for samples. My sister Maddie's kids turning the living room into a toy battlefield. I like predictable holidays. Predictable means safe. That was before my boyfriend decided to invite his ex to Christmas dinner at my parents' house without asking me. It was a Tuesday night, the kind where the sky is already ink black by 6 and the apartment feels smaller because of it. I was standing at the stove, stirring pasta, listening to the soft hiss of the water, the faint hum of my parents' voices on speakerphone replaying in my head from earlier. What time we'd be arriving, who was bringing what dessert, whether Cole liked pecan pie. He was on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling. He laughed at something on the screen, that light, easy laugh that used to make me relax. Now it just reminded me how easily he could sound carefree about things I worried over. "So," he said, like he was commenting on the weather, "I invited Bianca to Christmas dinner at your parents' place." I stopped stirring. The wooden spoon clinked against the pot. "Bianca?" I turned around slowly. "Your ex Bianca?" He didn't even look up at first. "Yeah," he said, flicking his thumb once more before finally setting the phone down. "She's been going through a rough time. No family in the area. I thought it'd be nice." There are sentences that feel like someone gently setting a grenade on your kitchen counter. "You invited your ex-girlfriend to my family's Christmas," I repeated, because sometimes repeating it out loud is the only way to check if you heard correctly. Without asking me. Cole's jaw tensed for half a second, just enough for me to catch it before his expression went smooth again. "Harper, come on," he said. "I figured you'd be okay with it. You're not insecure like that. She and I are just friends now. This is about being mature." There it was. The word that gets used when someone wants you to swallow something that tastes wrong. "Mature," I echoed. He smiled like the matter was settled. "Yeah, she doesn't really have anyone out here. Her family's all back east. It's Christmas. I didn't want her to spend it alone. Your mom said it was fine." That last part landed like a slap. "You already talked to my mom?" I asked. "Yesterday," he said. "I called her to ask if we could bring an extra guest and explain the situation. She was totally understanding. She said your family always has room for one more." Of course my mom had said that. My mom would invite a stray cat in a snowstorm and insist it stay for dessert. I swallowed, trying to be careful with my words. "That's not the point, Cole. You should have talked to me first. It's my family's holiday. It's our holiday." "It's only weird if you make it weird," he replied, the edge in his voice sharpening. "I'm trying to be a good person here. Bianca is going through something really hard, and I need you to be mature about this. Pick a role, jealous girlfriend or mature partner. Those were the choices he was drawing. Steam rose around us, fogging the kitchen window. The pasta was probably overcooked now, but I couldn't make myself turn back to it. "Fine," I said finally, my voice flatter than I intended. "She can come." Cole's shoulders relaxed. "Thank you," he said with that bright, charming smile my parents loved. "I knew you'd understand." I didn't understand, not even close. But I turned back to the stove, stirred the pasta that had already gone soft, and let the hum of the boiler and the rattle of the vent cover the sound of my thoughts rearranging themselves. That night, after we ate and watched some forgettable show, Cole kissed my forehead, said he was exhausted, and went to bed early. His phone stayed on the coffee table, face down, like an afterthought. I sat there for a long time, the TV screen reflecting off the window, our Christmas lights blinking red, green, gold in the corner like they were trying to convince me everything was festive and fine. I know what people say about privacy and trust. I can recite the arguments. If you have to look, the relationship is already broken. Respect their boundaries. It's a violation. But there's another quiet truth no one likes to admit. Sometimes you already know, and you're just looking for the proof you'll need later when everyone else says you're overreacting. I picked up his phone. For half a second, I hesitated. Then muscle memory took over. I knew the code. He'd given it to me months ago when we were ordering food from his account. 4 digits. Easy. The screen lit up. Bianca's name was near the top of his messages. Not once or twice. Constant. I opened the thread. It wasn't explicit. That was almost worse. No nude photos. No, "I can't wait to get you alone." It was inside jokes, shared memes, remember when stories. It was her complaining about work and him replying in paragraphs. It was him venting about me in careful, self-pitying phrases that made him sound reasonable and me sound controlling. And then I saw it. From him, 3 weeks ago. I miss what we had. Things were simpler. From her, I know. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd tried harder. My chest went cold and hot at the same time. I scrolled further back. 2 months of near-daily contact. Late-night messages. Little flirty asides that lived in the gray area he could defend if I confronted him. Nothing technically incriminating. Everything emotionally incriminating. The rough time she was supposedly going through, I couldn't find it. No mention of a fresh breakup, no grieving, just nostalgia. I left the Messages app and opened Instagram. It didn't take long to find her profile. Bianca Hayes. The same face I'd seen in old tagged photos. Pretty, athletic, the sort of person who always seems to be laughing on a hiking trail. 4 months ago, there was a photo that made my throat tighten. Bianca stood next to a man I didn't recognize, holding up her left hand. A ring glittered on her finger. The caption read, "He asked, I said yes. Grateful for this man and our future together." Future together. I clicked his tagged profile. Grayson Reed. More photos. Them at restaurants, them on a couch with a dog, them with his family at Thanksgiving. One in particular, posted just a few weeks ago. The two of them on a couch with the caption, "Can't believe I get to marry my best friend." My stomach turned. So Bianca wasn't newly single. She wasn't going through some devastating breakup. She was engaged. And Cole knew, or he would have if he'd asked even one question beyond, "How are you?" The story he'd told me about her being alone for the holidays suddenly sounded like something written in wet sand. I took a breath so deep it hurt, opened the camera on his phone and took screenshots of the worst messages, sent them to my email, deleted the outgoing mail from his phone, closed everything carefully, like I was putting the room back the way I'd found it after discovering a hidden trapdoor. Then I opened my own phone and created a burner Instagram account with a generic username and no profile picture. My hands shook, but not from guilt, from clarity. I went to Grayson's profile and hit message. I stared at the blank box for a long time. How do you introduce yourself to the man who thinks he's marrying someone who spends Christmas texting her ex? Finally, I typed, "Hi, Grayson. You don't know me, but I'm dating Bianca's ex, Cole. She's been invited to spend Christmas with my family at my parents' house, and Cole told me she's going through a rough time and has no one else. From your posts, it looks like you two are engaged. I thought you should know. If you want to talk, here's my number." I added my number before I could overthink it and hit send. The message left, and a little seen notification didn't appear. Maybe he wouldn't check. Maybe he'd write me off as a troll. Maybe I'd just blown up my own life for nothing. I put my phone down, leaned back into the couch, and stared at the blinking lights on our tiny tree. 9 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it, then swiped to answer. "Hello?" A man's voice, careful and tight. "Hi, is this Harper?" "Yes. This is Grayson, from Instagram." He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for a long time. "Can you tell me exactly what's going on?" We talked for about half an hour. He had no idea Bianca was spending Christmas with us. According to him, she'd said she was going to a work friend's party. He went quiet when I mentioned the messages. The "I miss what we had." The "what if we'd tried harder?" "I knew they'd stayed friendly," he said finally. "She always said it was no big deal. I didn't know it was like that." "I'm sorry," I told him, and I meant it. Believe me, I wish I didn't know either. There was a pause. I could almost hear him rearranging his entire understanding of his relationship in real time. "Why are you telling me?" he asked quietly. "Because no one warned me," I thought. "Because I've been sitting here being told to be mature about something that feels like betrayal wearing a Christmas sweater. Because if I were you," I said aloud, "I'd want to know where my fiancé is spending Christmas. And with who?" Another silence, then, "Thank you." The word sounded strange, like it didn't belong in the same sentence as what we were discussing. I hesitated, then felt something inside me lock into place. "Listen," I said, "my parents' Christmas is a lot. Big dinner, lots of people. Bianca and Cole will both be there. If you want to see what's really going on, you're welcome to come. I can introduce you as a friend. Or not. Your call. But you deserve to see the truth with your own eyes." "Are you sure?" he asked after a beat. "Won't that be messy?" I let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh. "It's going to be messy either way. This way, at least. The mess is honest." He was quiet for a long time. Okay, he said finally. Text me the address and the time. I'll be there. After we hung up, I typed out my parents' address with fingers that didn't feel like they belonged to me and sent it. The apartment was silent, except for the hum of the heater and the distant sound of Cole's soft snoring down the hall. On the coffee table, our 2 stockings lay side by side, still empty. I looked at them, then at the dark TV screen reflecting the room back at me, and understood with a clarity that made my heart ache. This Christmas wasn't going to be the safe, predictable holiday I'd wanted. It was going to be an audit, and when the doorbell rang at my parents' house, the truth was going to sit down at our dinner table and pass the potatoes. Christmas crept closer like a deadline. On the surface, the week before the holiday looked normal. Grocery lists on the fridge, my mom texting me photos of centerpieces she was just playing around with, my dad asking what kind of pie Cole liked, Maddie threatening to bring her kids hopped up on sugar early for maximum chaos. Underneath, everything felt like a stage being built for a play nobody knew they were in. Cole was buoyant, lighter than I'd seen him in months. He kept talking about how good it'll be for Bianca to be around real family and how proud he was of me for being understanding. Every time he said proud, like I was a child who'd shared a toy nicely instead of a woman watching her boyfriend emotionally cheat in slow motion, I had to unclench my jaw. On Christmas Eve, he stood in the doorway, jacket half zipped, cologne already on. I'm going to grab a drink with the guys, he said. Just a quick one, holiday tradition. It wasn't new. He did it most years. Still, I watched him for a beat too long. Sure, I said. Text me if you're going to be late. My mom wants us there by 1 tomorrow. He grinned, crossed the room, kissed my forehead. Yes, ma'am. You're the Christmas coordinator. I'll be home by midnight. Promise. His phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up long enough for me to see Bianca at the top. He flicked his eyes to it, then flipped it face down, casual as anything. Probably just wishing me Merry Christmas, he said. She's nervous about tomorrow. Nervous, I repeated. He didn't seem to notice the way the word felt like biting down on tinfoil. Yeah, she's not used to big family things. Her fiancé's family looked pretty big in those Thanksgiving pictures, I thought but did not say. Instead, I forced a small smile. Tell the guys I said hi. He left with a cheerful love you, and the door shut behind him with a soft click that felt more final than it should have. I walked over, picked up his phone again, and stared at the blank screen for a long moment before putting it back down. I didn't need to read more messages. I knew enough. My own phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Grayson. Just wanted to confirm tomorrow at 1 p.m.? I exhaled and typed back. Yes. My parents' place. You can just say you're a friend of mine if you want. No pressure. You don't have to come. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm coming. If Bianca is spending Christmas with her ex and his girlfriend, I'd rather see it than imagine it. Thanks again for telling me. I stared at his last message, the gratitude sitting awkwardly beside the wreckage. Then I put my phone face down, turned off the living room lights, and let the tree glow in the dark like a quiet alarm. Christmas morning, Cole was perfect. He woke me up with coffee and a crooked bow wrapped around a small box. He remembered the watch I'd mentioned months ago and made a whole speech about how I deserve nice things after this crazy year. I thanked him, kissed him, played my part. I gave him the leather wallet he'd pointed out in a store window and watched him act delighted, as if we were any other couple on any other Christmas morning. We exchanged gifts, took a selfie in front of our tree to send to my parents, and loaded the car with wrapped packages for my family. It would have made a great commercial. Cheerful couple, holiday spirit, mild road trip banter. If you cropped out the part where he was secretly texting his ex in my passenger seat, I'm just confirming timing with Bianca, he said once when I glanced at him. She wants to make sure she doesn't show up empty-handed, which, she really doesn't need to worry about, but you know her. I don't, I said before I could stop myself. He laughed. Right, you'll get to know her. You two will like each other, I think. You have similar sense of humor. I imagined comparing notes with Bianca about how it felt to be cast as the reasonable one while he played the benevolent peacemaker. Can't wait, I murmured. The closer we got to my parents' neighborhood, the more my chest tightened. Not with panic exactly, but with the strange, focused calm that comes before a storm. When we pulled into the driveway, my parents' house already looked like a Christmas card. Lights framed the windows, wreath on the door, Maddie's minivan parked haphazardly, like she'd arrived in a whirlwind and never stopped spinning. Inside, the smell hit me first. Turkey, butter, sugar, something with cinnamon. Harper, my mom called from the kitchen the moment she heard the door. You're here. Cole, sweetheart, Merry Christmas. She bustled out, hugged us both, took one of the dessert containers from my hands, and immediately launched into a monologue about oven timing. Cole nodded earnestly, absorbing every detail like he wasn't the reason my heart was hammering against my ribs. My dad yelled a greeting from the living room without taking his eyes off the game. One of Maddie's kids streaked past in fuzzy reindeer pajamas, shrieking with joy. Maddie herself appeared a moment later, hair in a messy knot, camera already in hand. My favorite sister, she said, hugging me. Then, lower, in my ear. So, this is the Christmas with the ex, huh? Apparently, I said. She leaned back, eyes sharp. You good? Ask me again in 2 hours. She studied my face, then nodded slowly. Okay, I'll keep my phone charged. The thing about my family is they're not nosy in the dramatic sense. They're nosy in the we love you, we're paying attention sense. It's comforting until it isn't. At 2:05, my mom fussed with napkins and asked, Are you sure your friend isn't lost? Bianca, Cole corrected gently. And yeah, she said she'd be here around 2:15. His phone buzzed. He glanced down, smiled. She's pulling up now. I didn't have to look out the window to know when she arrived. I felt the shift, the way everyone's antennae tuned, even if they didn't know why. The doorbell rang. I've got it, my mom called, but Cole was already there. He opened the door, and Bianca stepped inside like the protagonist of a different story. She was pretty in this way that photographs rarely do justice to. Dark hair in loose waves, simple sweater dress, a scarf looped casually around her neck. She carried a bottle of wine and a tin of cookies that looked homemade. Hey, she said, and her voice had that warm, raspy quality that makes everything sound like a secret. Bianca, Cole said, and the way he said her name made my stomach twist. He pulled her into a hug that lasted just a beat too long. Not obvious, not dramatic, just a fraction past appropriate. Thank you for having me, she said when my mom swooped in, delighted. Oh, we're glad you're here, my mom said, hugging her like they'd known each other for years. Cole told me you didn't have family nearby. Nobody should be alone on Christmas. Bianca's smile wavered for the tiniest second. Yeah, she said, it means a lot. I stood a few steps back, watching. Harper, Cole said, turning toward me. This is Bianca. Bianca, this is Harper. The moment stretched. Hi, I said, stepping forward, forcing my lips into something that would pass for a smile. Nice to finally meet you. Her hand was warm. Her grip was firm. Her eyes searched mine with a quick, assessing flicker, like she was trying to determine what exactly I knew. I've heard so much about you, she said. Same, I replied, letting the words sit there, heavier than it had any right to be. We moved into the living room. My dad muted the game long enough to shake her hand. Maddie gave her a friendly smile that didn't reach her eyes and then went back to filming her kids as they showed Bianca their new toys. Bianca tried. I'll give her that. She complimented my mom's tree, asked my dad about his team, laughed at my dad's bad jokes, asked Maddie about her kids' names. She was polished, charming, the sort of person you could easily imagine sliding into any social situation and making it look effortless. Cole kept drifting toward her, sitting next to her on the couch, touching her arm when he laughed. At one point, when my mom asked if anyone wanted more appetizers, he and Bianca answered yes in unison, then laughed about how that always used to happen. I watched it all with a calm I didn't feel. It's strange, being in a room where everyone else thinks they're at a normal holiday gathering while you know the floorboards are hollow. At 2:43, I looked at the clock. Grayson. My heart thudded once, hard, like it needed to remind me this was real. 2 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. I'll get it, I said quickly, already halfway to the hallway. My mom glanced up from the kitchen, distracted. Is someone else coming? Probably just a delivery, I lied smoothly. Neighbor, maybe. I opened the door. Grayson stood there in a dark sweater and jeans, holding a bottle of wine in one hand. Up close, he looked tired in the way people do when sleep has been optional for a while. Eyes a little red, jaw set, shoulders a fraction too straight. Hey, I said softly, you made it. Yeah, he replied, his gaze flicking past me to the warm glow of the house behind. I almost turned around twice on the way here. You still can, I said. No one knows you're coming. You owe no one anything. He shook his head once. I need to see it. I nodded and stepped aside. Come in. He wiped his shoes carefully on the mat, the kind of pointless politeness that shows up when you're trying to control anything at all. As soon as we stepped into the living room, the room's energy shifted. Bianca looked up mid-laugh. Her face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. The laugh died in her throat, leaving a weird, echoing silence behind it. "Grayson," she said, her voice landing in the space between a question and a plea. What are you doing here?" Cole stood up so fast he knocked over his beer bottle on the coffee table. It clattered, miraculously not spilling. My dad reached for the remote and muted the TV. Maddie's phone, which had been pointed at her kids, slowly tilted higher. Grayson didn't look at Bianca first. He looked at me. "You said this was your family's house," he said, his tone steady in that way people get when they've rehearsed something. "You said Bianca was spending Christmas here with her ex." I nodded once. "This is my parents' place. That's my boyfriend, Cole." I turned to the room. "Everyone, this is Grayson, Bianca's fiancé." The word landed like a plate shattering on tile. Bianca's lips parted. Cole's eyes jumped between us, confusion giving way to understanding and then full-body panic. "My what?" my mom whispered from the doorway, looking between Bianca and Cole. I glanced at Cole, met his wild eyes, and heard my own voice, calm and almost pleasant. "You didn't mention to my family that Bianca is engaged, Cole. And Bianca, you didn't mention to your fiancé that you were spending Christmas with your ex and his girlfriend. So I thought, since we're all being mature about things, we should spend the holiday together." I used his word, the one he'd used to shut me up in our kitchen. The be mature word. The room went very, very quiet. Cole was the first to crack. "Harper, what the hell is this?" he hissed, voice pitched low like he was trying to keep the situation containable, as if it weren't already spilling onto every surface of the room. Bianca stood frozen, hands clasped in front of her like she didn't know what to do with them. Grayson didn't look at her, not yet. He was staring at Cole, expression carved from something cold and disappointed. My mom moved toward the dining table as if plates and napkins could shield her from the emotional fallout detonating in her living room. Maddie's phone was now unapologetically pointed in our direction. "This," I said calmly, "is everyone finally being honest." "Honest?" Cole sputtered. "You ambushed us on Christmas." I lifted an eyebrow. "You mean the Christmas dinner where you invited your ex behind my back? And lied about why? And texted her constantly for months? And went to my mom before talking to me? That Christmas?" My dad let out a soft wow under his breath. Cole's face went a shade darker. "I didn't lie." "Oh," I said. "Bianca's going through a rough time, right? No one to spend the holiday with?" Bianca flinched. Grayson straightened. I turned to her. "Funny, because from what I saw, you're engaged to a man with a very large and loving family." Bianca's eyes flicked to Grayson. "Grayson, please." He lifted a hand, stopping her. "Don't," he murmured. His voice wasn't angry. It was worse. Quiet, steady, like he'd practiced this in the mirror every night for a week. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked her, still not raising his voice. "Why did you say you were going to a work colleague's party? Why did you lie about where you'd be and who you'd be with?" Bianca's breath stuttered. I didn't want to upset you. Cole and I are just friends. I didn't think it mattered." "Didn't matter?" Grayson echoed. "You're spending Christmas with your ex and his girlfriend. You didn't think it mattered?" Cole stepped forward as if volunteering for a firing squad. "Grayson, man, listen. Bianca was having a tough time." "No, she wasn't," I cut in. "You were." Cole whipped toward me. "What?" "You were the one sending 'I miss what we had' messages," I said evenly. "You were the one talking about how things used to be simpler, and Bianca, she was the one replying, 'Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd tried harder. Should I keep going?'" My mom gasped. My sister murmured, "Holy, okay, I need to steady my aim," and adjusted her phone. Bianca's face crumpled. "Harper, you read his phone?" I met her eyes. "Yep," Cole sputtered. That's insane. That's a violation of privacy." "And what you two have been doing," I said, "is a violation of trust." For the first time, Bianca looked angry. Not at me, at Cole. "You told her I was going through a rough time?" she demanded. "You said that's why I needed to be here?" Cole blinked. "You said you were stressed." "I said work was busy," Bianca snapped. "I never said I was alone for the holidays, or that Grayson and I broke up. Why would you—" "Wait," Grayson said, voice low. "Cole told Harper you were newly single?" Cole winced like he'd been hit. I didn't say. I thought she implied—" "Oh my God," Bianca whispered. "You absolute coward." Grayson let out a hollow laugh. "This is incredible. Really. You lied to your girlfriend about my fiancé being heartbroken. You lied about why she was coming here, and then you lied to her about being some noble friend offering support?" Cole turned red. "I didn't lie." I held up my phone. "Do you want me to read the messages out loud?" My mom sat down in the nearest chair like she needed to rethink every decision she'd made since Thanksgiving. Lauren texted me, recording. Perfect angle. Don't move. Bianca suddenly found her voice again. You told me Harper was uncomfortable because she's controlling and judgmental. You said Grayson wouldn't care where I was today, that he had his own holiday stuff, that if he knew I had no one here, he'd feel guilty. Grayson stared at her. You needed support? You? What about me? I thought we were starting a life together. I thought we were planning a wedding. I had no idea you were spending Christmas with your ex. I didn't, Bianca's voice cracked. Grayson, please just listen. For what? Grayson asked softly. For you to tell me you still love him? For you to pretend you weren't sneaking around emotionally for months? For you to say the words, we're just friends, like they're magic? Her face contorted. It wasn't like that. Cole jumped in again. She needed someone she could talk to. Things were hard. Hard? Bianca snapped. What part was hard, Cole? Your job, your relationship, your boredom. Don't put this on me. You leaned on me. You called me. You started all of this. Cole opened his mouth to argue, then shut it as he realized every path out was blocked. Even my dad, normally a peacekeeper, said dryly, Son, you may want to stop digging. Bianca pressed her hands to her temples. I can't do this here. You started this here, Grayson said. There was a long, painful silence. Then Grayson straightened, lifted his chin, and looked directly at Bianca. We're done, he said simply. I can't marry someone who hides where she spends Christmas, who sends messages like that to her ex, who lies so easily. Bianca made a small wounded sound. Grayson. He took a step back toward the hallway. Then he turned to me. Thank you, he said softly, for telling me. I'm sorry you're going through this too. My throat tightened. You deserve to know. He nodded once, then left. Bianca stood there trembling. Cole looked like he'd just watched his entire life disintegrate. My mom slowly set down a plate she'd been holding and whispered, I think the turkey's burning. Then she hurried away. Bianca choked out, I should go. Voice breaking, grabbed her coat and rushed toward the door. Cole reached after her. Bianca, wait. She pulled back like his touch burned. Don't call me. And just like that, she was gone too. For a moment, the room was painfully quiet. Then Cole rounded on me. Harper, what you did was cruel and manipulative and insane. You humiliated me. I stared at him. And finally, I felt something shift. Not anger, not grief. Clarity. Cole, I said calmly, we're done. His mouth opened. A what? I'm breaking up with you, I repeated. We're over. I've already contacted a lawyer about our lease and assets. You can stay at your brother's until we figure out the move-out timeline. You're being dramatic, he said, voice cracking. No, I said, I'm being mature. The word echoed in the quiet room. Behind me, Maddie whispered, Holy shit. My dad nodded thoughtfully. Interesting Christmas. And for the first time all day, I almost smiled. Cole didn't leave right away. He stood there in my parents' living room, blinking like the air had turned too bright, like reality had shifted half a step to the left and he was still trying to find his balance. Harper, he said, voice wobbling, you don't actually mean that. Not today. Not like this. My mom, who had returned from the kitchen in time to hear it, crossed her arms and said quietly, Cole, maybe you should let her talk. He looked around, searching for someone to rescue him, but everyone had already chosen their side. Even Maddie's kids, who didn't fully understand what was happening, stared at him like he'd broken the laws of Christmas. I stepped closer, keeping my voice steady. You brought your ex into my parents' home without telling me, I said. You spent months emotionally cheating and dismissed my instincts as insecurity. You lied to me. You lied to her. You lied to Grayson. And you stood here today acting like you were doing everyone a favor. His jaw clenched, but he didn't interrupt. This isn't impulsive, I continued. This isn't dramatic. This is me choosing myself, finally, after months of feeling like I was losing my grip on reality. My dad nodded like I'd just delivered a closing argument in court. Even my mom, who always tries to see everyone's side, looked relieved, like she could finally stop trying to justify the unjustifiable. Cole opened his mouth again, voice softening into something pleading. Harper, please, can't we just talk? We will, I said, through the lawyers. He inhaled sharply, like he wasn't expecting that. Then, without another word, he grabbed his coat and left. The door clicked shut behind him, not slammed, just a soft, final sound. And the moment it did, my whole body felt 10 pounds lighter. We still ate Christmas dinner. It was quiet and awkward and weird, and my mom apologized every 10 minutes for not asking more questions when Cole called her about Bianca. My dad tried to lighten the mood by joking that this Christmas definitely wouldn't blend into the others. Maddie replayed snippets of the video she'd recorded on her phone, offering to send it to me for legal reasons and also because it's iconic. Later that night, I slept in my childhood bedroom, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars, still stuck to the ceiling from when I was 12. My phone pinged 17 times from Cole, messages ranging from furious to apologetic to pathetic. I answered one. Talk to my lawyer. Then I turned my phone off. Update 1. The day after. My dad and brother-in-law came with me to the apartment to grab essentials. Cole wasn't there, but he'd left a note on the counter. Harper, I'm sorry. Can we please talk? I never meant for any of this to happen. Cole. I crumpled it and tossed it directly into the trash. My lawyer assured me the screenshots would be helpful in negotiations. I also had the receipts showing I'd paid the majority of our rent, utilities, trips, and groceries, not because I wanted to weaponize them, but because that's what fairness looks like on paper. Most of our friends, once they heard the full story, sided with me. A couple said the Christmas reveal was a little dramatic, but honestly, I didn't care. The truth had to come out somewhere. Might as well have been over mashed potatoes. Update 2, 1 week later. Bianca and Grayson officially broke up. Apparently, Bianca tried telling people it was just a misunderstanding, but the screenshot Grayson showed his sister, the "sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd tried harder" message, kind of killed that narrative. Cole, meanwhile, tried to paint himself as the victim of some big emotional setup at Christmas. But once Maddie's video circulated in our extended family group chats, the empathy dried up fast. Someone added a string of popcorn emojis under the clip. Cole, according to a mutual friend, lost it when he realized Bianca wasn't taking his calls and Grayson had blocked him. Bianca blamed Cole for ruining her engagement. Cole blamed Bianca for ruining his relationship. They were both right. Update 3. 2 months later. The breakup moved quickly, mostly because Cole didn't want to fight it and didn't want more people seeing the texts. We sold the apartment and split the assets 60-40, my favor, because I'd paid for most of it. I've been staying with my parents while looking for a new place. It's been healing. Family dinners, puzzle nights, my mom making me tea without asking if I want any. My dad sitting beside me quietly while I scroll through rentals. Maddie checks in constantly. She says the video hasn't gone viral, but it's been shared more times than she's willing to admit. My cousins suddenly think I'm the most interesting person in the family. Cole sent a long email one night. I'm sorry for everything. I never physically cheated. I was confused. I know I hurt you. I hope someday we can be friends. I didn't respond. Some doors deserve to stay closed. Final update. Present day. Grayson reached out a few weeks ago. Not in a romantic way. Just two people who survived the same emotional hurricane looking for closure that didn't involve explosive dinners. We met for coffee. He told me therapy helped, that he's focusing on himself, that he's glad he found out before walking down the aisle. He thanked me again. He said, "If you hadn't told me, I might have married someone who wasn't choosing me." I nodded because I understood that better than I wanted to admit. We talked for an hour. Then we said goodbye with no promises, no lingering looks, just a quiet mutual respect. And honestly, that felt like healing. My parents joke now that I won Christmas. My mom says next year she's personally approving all guests. My dad said that Christmas was the most interesting holiday we've ever had, which coming from him is essentially a standing ovation. I don't know what my future looks like yet, but I know this. I don't miss Cole. I don't miss feeling small. I don't miss being told to be mature by someone who couldn't handle basic honesty. Some holidays change the shape of your life. This one did. And I'm finally starting to feel like myself again.